Hello everyone, Azrael Pigeon back with another video. In this video, I just wanted to do more of a conversational video about a topic that has kind of been coming up a lot lately on my car spotting account. So ever since I posted this picture of my Mercury Sable lowered, I got way too much traction. I gained almost double the amount of followers within a month and got 30,000 likes, which is just insane. Coincidentally, around that time, I started messing around with photoshops of a Mercury Villager, which is the minivan equivalent of my Sable, essentially. And people started calling me like the Mercury guy. Like, oh man, you really are like a Mercury guy. If you got those, you'd be like the Mercury guy. Which is funny because I never really considered myself a Mercury guy. Like, I don't particularly care about Mercury. Just by pure chance, I really happen to like a lot of their random, weird, obscure cars from the 80s and 90s, especially when they got into that light bar era of design. So in this video, I thought, if I'm already being given the title of the Mercury guy, what cars from Mercury do I actually really want? And which ones would I need to really be the Mercury guy? I'm talking the guy on Instagram with the best collection of Mercurys. Now, obviously, I'm not really talking about like having a bunch of expensive Mercury Cougar Eliminators or Mercury Park Avenues that are just super classic and expensive and cool. I'm talking about more car spotter type of cars, like the weird quirky stuff from the Malaise era and onwards. So I went through my notes. I have a note called Cars I Want, and it's essentially every car I could ever want and exactly how I'd build them. And I just keyword searched Mercury, and the results I got are the 5 cars I'm going to go through in this video. So without further ado, let's talk about what cars I could buy to truly become the Mercury guy. Let's start with the late 70s Mercury Cougar. Specifically, I really like the looks of the 77 through 78 Mercury Cougar XR7, and I would absolutely love to own one of these. I've always thought they looked super cool for like a lowrider build, like a proper lowrider build with hydraulics. And I saw one for sale on Facebook Marketplace in this really beautiful, I believe, factory color green. I think it's called Jade Metallic or something like that, or Bright Jade Metallic, something like that. And it looked incredible. I would love to own one in Jade Metallic with a white vinyl roof, lowered with, you know, white wall tires, spokes, the whole shebang, hydraulics. I would definitely do a lowrider inspired build, maybe a mild like lowrider style paint job with some geometric patterns or just beautiful pinstriping. And I think that would be a wonderful car to own. Having the Sable and the Cougar would be amazing. But those cars are so different from one another. I almost feel like the Cougar pairs better with my Challenger than it does with my Sable, because they're kind of more from the same time period and same design. So I don't know if that's really the car that I want to pair with my Sable, to be like the Mercury guy with a squad of Mercurys that just work together, you know? So let's move on to the next one. This is actually a bonus car because it's not actually on my cars I want to own list, but the more I start to see them, the more I really start to like them. So I honestly think it will get on the list relatively soon. And that is the pre-facelift Mercury Lynx RS. Specifically, I would really love to have one where it came in this beautiful silver color with bright orange badging. I think these look pretty aggressive for being little hatchbacks, and I think a hot hatch build of one, you know, lowered and just loud and light handling build of one of those would be really, really fun. Ever since like high school, I've really liked that orange and gray color combination. Honestly, it's probably because of the 2017 fall winter Supreme box logo that came in heather gray with the bright orange box logo. I've always really liked how that looked, and I think that's why I started really liking these Lynx RSs, because I really love the color combo they came in. Obviously, like the Escort SS is probably cooler with that beautiful pastel lemon color with the crazy tritone stripes, but there's already a guy that has 2 of them, so he can be the Ford Escort guy, and Ford Escort's not going to give me Mercury points, so I would opt for a Lynx over an Escort. Although, if you guys have known me for long enough, you would know that finding a Ford Escort SS, which is 1981 model year only, same with the Lynx RS wagon, I think that was 82 model year only, maybe 81 and 2. I genuinely believe both of those cars are completely extinct, as in there is not a single one left in the entire world, which is just really mind-blowing to think that a mass-produced car from only like 40 years ago is completely eradicated off the earth. There's not a single one left. And that used to be like a huge thing I would bring up on my page a lot on Instagram. I even had a reward. If anyone could spot a 1981 Ford Escort SS that wasn't previously known about, because there are a few that are known, like in a field in the middle of the woods, completely rotted, completely done for. That's not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see new Escort SSs. Doesn't need to be driving per se, but just something other than those few that are rotted beyond saving. If any car spotter found one, I had a $50 prize. Unsurprisingly, never happened. And I don't think it ever will. So I've kind of always had a little bit of a special place in my heart for that generation of Escort and Lynx, because just how insanely rare they are, and in the pursuit of the Escort SS wagon, I kind of grew an appreciation for their styling. I like the sunken in headlights. I really like the waterfall grille of the Lynxes, and I think the way that the Lynx's grills are painted and everything, they can actually look pretty tough. I saw one in all black, and it looked pretty aggressive. I honestly really liked how they looked. So that's the bonus car, which is funny because I took longer on that than the Cougar. But anyways, let's move on to the genuine number 4. Speaking of Lynxes, this car shares the same body as a Lynx, but drastically different styling, and that is the cute little frog-eyed Mercury LN7. Now, if you guys were following me recently, you'd know that I found a Ford Escort-based car, the EXP, and it was only $300, and it was all ratted out. It looked kind of awesome with that patina, so I kind of photoshopped some like builds with it, and I was honestly tempted. It was the most tempted I'd ever been by a car in a long time, because if you guys watched my last video, you would know that I don't really want any more cars for a long time. I have enough on my plate. I was still tempted because $300 is really cheap. If I had mechanical prowess, I would have probably bought it, but it would just sit for like a year or two because I don't know how to do anything with cars yet. So nah, I'm glad I didn't buy it, especially because it wouldn't give me Mercury points. The LN7 is significantly rarer than the EXP, which is already rare. And I don't just want any LN7. I really want to find one in bright lime metallic, which was a one model year only color and was kind of like the poster car color for the car. It was a really cool like candy apple green that just looked really awesome. Also, it matches the frog vibe really well. I think that's probably also why I like the color so much, is because it adds to that silly, goofy frog look that these cars are kind of beloved for. Nobody thinks they actually look cool, I don't think, but they are funny. Like, they're silly little cars, and I like that type of stuff. So if by some miracle there is an LN7 in that color, in a field somewhere with some beautiful caked on patina like the one that was for sale for $300, that would be, I could not get that car. Honestly, I don't think so, because it might be the very last one left like that, and with how rare they are, it may be my only opportunity to ever get one like that. I really think these make for cool like rat rod builds. You saw the Photoshop. I would like to lower it really low with some fat exhaust tips and some nice Astro Supreme wheels, just really nice rat rod, classic rat rod style build, because I know no one's ever done that with a car like this before. And I really think that that lime metallic color with a nice deserty sunbake patina with like the oranges and the brick reds would look beautiful. So that's car number 4. Next is a car that I probably don't want as much as the LN7, so this might be the only part where it's switched to orders, but it is a very obscure car of questionable build quality. It's the 1984 to 1985 Mercury Topaz sedan. I don't typically opt for sedans over coupes, but I think in the build I have in my mind, which I have no idea where it came from, but in the build I have in my mind, the sedan works better. So basically I kind of want to do something like, I don't know, it's weird. think of like Volkswagen rat rod builds in terms of how they will just get some Jetta from the 80s and just slam it completely on the ground, and then just kind of frame bang it around. Think about that mixed with like a cruiser in terms of having like a nice paint job and nice wheels and things like that. So I want it absolutely slammed on its nuts, which is kind of what I'd want to do with every car ever, basically, if I was given the opportunity to. And a rich, deep, metallic root beer paint job I think would suit this car quite well. Once again, I don't remember how I got to this conclusion, but I genuinely really like the vision. And then these wheels, which look amazing. I had kind of like a few days where I just combed through wheel brands and just picked out all the wheels that I liked and tried to pair them with cars on my cars I want to own notes. And these wheels would look so good in this build with this Topaz. It would make the car look so luxurious, which is funny because the Topaz is just a slightly up-badged Ford Tempo, which is infamously one of the dinkiest cars of all time. But that's kind of my thing. They're so rare these days. Honestly, I've seen one running example for sale nationwide on Facebook Marketplace, and it sold in a couple of days. Not because they're collectible by any stretch of the imagination, they're just so hard to come by. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one never happens, but I think they look pretty okay. Like I like the front end of them. I don't know, I like the black band around the face. It almost kind of reminds me of like a raccoon or something. These look kind of cool. They look neat, I'll say that. They look neat, and the thick pillars are just so interesting as well. I'd love to see those with a dark tint and that beautiful rich root beer color that I was describing earlier. So yeah, I would love to have a slammed out Mercury Topaz on some beautiful chrome wheels. Not like 20 inches or anything ridiculous, just like a nice size to where it fills the where the wheel and tire combo fill the fender. Right? And I would probably have this car bagged out as well, which would be 2 bagged out Mercuries, which would be pretty awesome. That would be pretty cool. Both sedans too. That would be pretty cool. I think these cars would complement each other pretty good. But if we're talking about cars that complement each other, these next two, I think would easily make me the premier Mercury guy on all of Instagram. Having this trio, it's game over for you guys, bro. It's game over if I have this trio. Pack up your bags, bro. I've got the Mercury game on lock. So let's talk about number 4. Number 4 shouldn't be all that surprising, given that I drive a second generation Mercury Sable. What other generation has light bars? The first generation Mercury Sable. Now, the reason I don't like these ones as much, they look really nice, in great condition, and in like the LS trim where it's got the two-tone, it's got the nice body cladding, really rich plush interior. I like those. But when you see them, they have really big light bars, like much thicker and taller. So when they're yellowed or crusty looking, they look crusty. Like the whole front end of the car is yellow, crusty plastic. So these have a much higher propensity to look really bad. In fact, as a kid, I saw a Mercury Sable wagon, I think on Breaking Bad or something, and I declared it the ugliest car I've ever seen in my life. And now I want one. Well, not a wagon, but this is gonna sound crazy. I think the boxier and more upright posture of the first generation would lend very well to a VIP style build. I'm talking JDM VIP style build. Not with the giant body kits or anything ridiculous, but lowered, probably on bags, once again, with these work wheels or something, kind of like iconic 5-spoke VIP wheels, deep dish, absolutely beautiful setup with, maybe a tiniest bit of camber ever. Maybe. I'm still skeptical on that, but just a tasteful VIP build. I had a lot of inspiration by this guy and his beautifully colored light green and silver Lexus. And other than the wheels, which are a little more out there, and I do like his wheels, but they're not like the quintessential VIP wheels, which is what I would want. Yeah, this is basically my main inspiration. Take a Sable make it nice and clean, make that freaking light bar crystal clear, slam it on its nuts, tuck in these wheels with some nice little tire stretch, you know, just how they do it JDM style, and I'd be onto something, dude. I would be cooking with fire. Having that first gen Sable and a second gen Sable, which has more of like a West Coast American style build, not quite lowrider, but West Coast, you know, the types of classic cars you see on the PCH. That's kind of the vibe I'm going for there. Having those two, both Sables, but in totally different car cultures, would be amazing, especially because I really want to bring some recognition to what I think was a very unique and special time for Mercury. I think these cars are very underappreciated. I think they were very ahead of their time and very special, and they don't really get any appreciation. And because of that, they look really ugly. When you see one, you don't think, oh, that was an interesting design 30 years ago. You think, that thing looks terrible right now. But when they were new and nice, they looked really good. And if you happen to find one that still is nice today, it is very head turning, especially the second you do an LED swap, it's game over. People suddenly love your car. My Sable did not pop off really at all for a while until the LED swap. And then everyone all of a sudden was like, dude, this thing is a spaceship. The thing looks futuristic. The thing is awesome. RoboCop, this and the other. And I think the same thing would apply to the first generation. So rolling up to a VIP style meet or a JDM meet, even though the car is American, and let's be honest, most JDM meet cars are also American. They're USDM. They're not Japanese. Anyways, because JDM style builds are all the rage right now, I think I would bring a lot more appreciation to the Mercury Sable by doing a VIP style build as opposed to the more almost lowrider adjacent cruiser build I'm doing on my current car. And that's really the goal. I want these cars to gain appreciation. I think they're great cars. I think they're underrated. And I think if people saw one super cleanly built, JDM or otherwise, VIP or otherwise, I think people would start to give them attention. I've already had multiple people tell me that my car has inspired them to go look for one themselves. And imagine $5,000 into the car later. Now you're pulling up on car shows and winning awards, you know, or maybe 10,000. I don't know how much it would cost to really fully build the car, but you know, and once you have a Mercury Sable turning people's heads everywhere you go, that's when you start building momentum. I had a commenter on Facebook a while ago tell me how he kind of thinks what I'm doing is reminiscent of what his friend was doing back in the 80s, 90s. He had this old beat up Ford coupe, like a Galaxy or something, and in that era those cars didn't really have any value. They were big, sluggish, outdated dinosaurs, but he decided to build one instead of the much more popular like Impalas or this, that, and the other. And you know, people loved his Galaxy, and more people nowadays appreciate Galaxies. Galaxies are cool cars now. You see Galaxies at car shows all the time. And this guy said he wouldn't be surprised if I build my Sable nice enough, I could start leading to the same thing. Obviously, time would also help the car be more interesting in the modern context, but given some time and maybe going viral with my cars built, I think the Sable could go somewhere. I genuinely do. But that's just car number 2. Car number 1 is the ultimate pair to my Sable. So much so, in fact, that my Sable build already is predicated upon having this car to kind of be the yin-yang of my Sable build. So what is it? A mom van. Yeah, 1993 to 1995 Mercury Villager. Those 3 Mercurys are the only Mercurys that were built with functional headlights. Other ones had fake headlight bars, but these 3 had functional headlights all the way across, and they're all awesome. I've always really liked minivans because, and I think a lot of people around my age would kind of have the same feeling. Let's be honest, all of us had that guy in the friend group whose first car was their mom's hand-me-down minivan. And if you're around my age, hand-me-down minivans were late 90s, early 2000s minivans, right? So these bubbly jelly bean silly cars were what you had probably a lot of formative memories in. I don't recall any nights more fun then the nights me and all of my dudes would cram in the back of his mom's minivan. All of us would just hit the town like midnight, playing stupid music, just being rambunctious and silly, and just having fun. There's some irony factor as well of doing these things in a minivan that makes it so much more funny and fun and entertaining as well. So I always have had a special place in my heart for minivans, especially the dorky, silly era that was silly and stupid looking when I was young. And I think these look the coolest of all of them, especially in rose mist metallic. Now, the light bar era of Mercury Villager never came in rose mist, but the year after, just missed it by 1 year, they introduced rose mist for 1 year only, I believe, maybe 2. No, 1 year only, and then they replaced it with a darker color, and it is a stunning color. Rose mist is one of the most beautiful manufactured colors of all time. I genuinely believe that. It's this beautiful pastel lavender with a very strong salmony pink, sunsetty orange style of undertone that just makes a beautiful color. In the overcast, it's pastel, it's lavender. And in the sun, it's this pinkish purple two-tone, beautiful color. And yeah, you could order a freaking minivan with that color back in the 90s. The 90s were the best for car colors, let's be honest, guys. And they had digital dashes, and in the case of the 93 to 95, a freaking full width light bar. So that is just the exact car to fit the spaceship Sable. If you've seen my Photoshop build of my Sable, you'll probably notice that you'll notice that it's dark teal and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be light evergreen frost. But also, if you follow the pinstriping, the OEM pinstriping that follows the car, you might notice that it's actually lavender. The reason being is because, you guessed it, if I get a 93 to 95, I would repaint it in rose mist and have that car's pinstripes be mint. These cars would be exact yin yangs of one another, and I think that would be so cool, especially because I learned the Mercury Villager's towing capacity could tow my Sable around. Imagine that. Both of these cars bagged out, light bars on, at pastel paint jobs, yin yang color palette, the minivan towing the Sable over to the local Radwood meet or the local car show, 80s, 90s type of thing. That is an impossibly awesome duo. And not in like the conventionally cool way. It's not a 57 Chevy being towed by a freaking 73 square bodied Chevy pickup truck. I get it. It's cool in like a weird way, but I think it would be awesome, especially if I do a lowrider style build of the minivan. That used to be an option in GTA 5. You could, for whatever reason, throw hydraulics and spokes on the minivan. And not like an Astro van, like the silly Jelly Bean minivan. And I always loved to do that as a teenager too. So this really would be kind of like a childhood dream come true. I've always loved silly minivans. I've always messed around with a lowrider minivan in GTA, and having one in real life would be awesome. So I genuinely think just having those two cars would put me top tier Mercury guy on all of Instagram. And I know I'm weird, and I know it's weird, but hear me out. It will look awesome. I know most of the cars I've listed are not colloquially understood as cool, but I feel like I have this weird ability to just see a build in my head and just know this is gonna turn out. This is gonna turn out good. I just need like a lot more money. So I don't know. Well, the Villager is genuinely what I want to be my next car. I really would love to have one. They're super reliable. They have the Nissan hardbody engine in them. That means they can easily go over 400,000 miles. This thing would be my new daily, reliable driver. I'd love to get one in like a jungle teal or whatever that teal color is called, with the silver two-tone, digital dash, leather seats, a crazy speaker system, cram all my friends in the back and just go to freaking town in a Mercury Villager. That would be so fun. But first I gotta fix my Sable, fix my Challenger, and fix my Mustang. So I shouldn't get ahead of myself, but anytime I think about how fun that would be, I get giddy about it. I genuinely, for sure, will own a Mercury Villager at some point. All the other ones, I could see never happening. But I will for sure own a Mercury Villager at some point. It's just a matter of time. So if you guys are excited about that duo, then you're gonna want to follow along, because it's going to happen at some point. Even mostly stock. My Sable bagged out and the Villager bagged out. Just that alone. Screw the color changing and the freaking new wheels and everything. Just those two things alone. You know, me and like, I don't know, a friend or my wife or whatever, driving around side by side in those two cars, LED headlights on, everyone is going to look like, what is happening there? They're goofy, but just cool enough, just sci-fi enough to get people's attention. It's just, they're unique cars and they turn people's heads. People always look over at my car when I have the headlights on. It's not just because I'm blinding them. I'm pretty sure. No, I'm just kidding. I know it's not, because you guys have been so supportive of the Sable build on Instagram. It's my least favorite of my 3 cars, but you guys love it so much. So I've been putting more care into the Sable lately. And I think getting that Mercury Villager would be the ultimate next step for you guys. I think you guys would love to see it. I would love to own it. It would be so cool. Ugh. Just give me some time. Just give me some time. It's going to happen. And with that said, that's the video. That's all 6. If you guys have any leads on any of those really rare ones, like the Lynx RS or the LN7 in bright lime, let me know. Obviously, I'm not in a place where I want a 4th car right now at all. But if you know a guy who knows a guy who has one and may be willing to sell it, like maybe in a year or 2 years, whatever, let me know. I would love to see even just another bright lime LN7 even existing at all at this point. That's how rare they are. So yeah, with that said, follow along. A lot more Mercury goodness coming up soon. I will hold the Mercury flag as a badge of honor, and we'll see where it goes. It might go nowhere, and people might still think Sables suck within the next 5 years. We'll see.